Hello, and welcome to the Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynne Testoni. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks, and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business. I just want to give a shout out to Rounded, our sponsor, because I know for me, my quarterly BAS used to be so stressful. But I love Rounded because everything is there and so tidy, Rach.
I know, no more shoe boxes of receipts. I also really love that my accountant can log into the program remotely and help me with lodgement. Just do it without me needing to even worry about it.
That's what we love.
But best of all, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can save 20% on any annual Rounded plan. Even if you've got the Rounded discount last year, you can get it this year as well.
Awesome. The show notes always have the details.
Yeah.
Hey Lynn, I want to ask you a question. Be honest. Are you a little bit over social media, especially with all the social media we've had to do this year for the summit?
Oh my goodness. Yes. All the platforms, the changing algorithms, the pressure to stay up to date. It's really exhausting.
Modifying all the Canva stuff and creating new Canva stuff. Yeah.
Well, you do a lot of that, so I do avoid it. But yes, there's so much to do.
It's a lot of work. And that is why I am so excited to have Leonie Dawson on the podcast this week. She's going to tell us about how to do marketing without social media. Yeah.
Because it's her passion, isn't it? And I can't wait to hear her strategies. So tell me a little bit about Leonie and then we'll get her into the hot seat.
Leonie Dawson is an internationally best-selling author of the 2024 My Brilliant Year workbooks, formerly known as the Goal Getter workbooks, which have been used by over 500,000 people worldwide. She's a multi-passionate entrepreneur and has generated over 14 million in revenue while only working 10 hours a week. Leonie has been recognised for her business acumen by winning Aus Mumpreneur's People's Choice Business Coach, Global Brand and Business Making a Difference Awards. And Leonie lives with her 2 daughters and husband on Queensland's Sunshine Coast. Welcome, Leonie. We're so happy to have you.
Oh, thanks, Babe. It's a joy to be here.
So we usually ask our guests about their business journey. So tell us about where you started and what you're doing now.
For me, I just really wanted to work out a way to have some kind of creative business. And my parents were farmers and very pragmatic. And they were like, well, you can't be an artist. You can't be a writer because you don't want to be a starving artist. There's no money in that. So you just need a good, steady office job. And so I was like, right, okay, I guess I'll do that then. And I thought the second best option, if I couldn't be an artist and a writer, the second best option is to become Prime Minister of Australia. And that was just how my brain works.
Yep.
So when I was 20, I moved to Canberra and started working in the public service. I got to work on Parliament House. I started doing a public policy degree part-time through Australian National University. And I had the most amazing experience, what 20-year-old gets to do this kinds of banana stuff. And discovered really quickly, oh, this is not something that I can do for the rest of my life. It is not my passion. And also you need a very thick skin in order to be a politician. I don't have that. I've got paper thin skin. And also their work hours are incredible. When they're in sitting weeks, it's pretty regular for them to be up at 6 a.m. and working until midnight. That's not something that I'm able to do. I don't have that capacity. And so I really respect anyone who can. So I was early 20s, I think maybe 22 or 23, when I went back home to the farm and sort of came out to my parents that, hey, I tried it your way and I actually am going to be an artist, that I'm going to be the creative. They weren't impressed, but that's fine. That's totally okay. They don't have to be. And then my journey then was right, well, how am I going to make money from this? Because, I want to have kids in the future. I would like to be able to live anywhere we want when we have them. And I don't want to have to send them to daycare. I want to work out a way how I can have it all, basically. And I realized that in order to earn money from my creative gifts, I needed to build up my business and my marketing muscles because they were completely flaccid. Like I'd spent no time working on them and all the time working on the creative stuff. So I just dove into the business and marketing learning journey and kept on trying out all the different things that I wanted to offer. So I read tarot cards online. I ran like spiritual meditation retreats. I sold art at markets and had a solo art exhibition. I just tried all the different things out. I was
All the things.
yeah, just like, okay, I want to like do some kind of creative career. Let's see how that pans out and what it looks like and how it feels. And I'm very grateful for that experimentation process. And like the fact I stayed in the public service while I was doing all of that, I feel like the public service was like my early investor in my business because it gave me the energy and time and money for me to do stuff around the corners of my job. And that's worked out really well because I've never had the luxury of working full time in my business. It was built on the sides around my government job. And then I only left there when I was 9 months pregnant with my first daughter. And so from then on, it was parenting. And along the way, I just sort of discovered the way that I really like to do business. And so I love teaching programs online. I love teaching courses. I started doing it in 2008. That was the first time that I'd heard the word e-course and knew immediately that I wanted to do that. And writing and self-publishing my books has been a big part of that journey. And I feel just enormously grateful that I've been able to have this career that's made just an absolute garbage amount of money while giving me just a huge amount of freedom as well. I'm so grateful.
And joy, it sounds like too.
Oh, enormous amounts of joy. Like I'm so blessed, so blessed.
Wow.
So interesting. So what are the pros and cons of running your own business? I mean, after being in the public service, so secure, so I guess, yeah, you're comfortable, very comfortable. Was it a big change?
Yes. However, I think like if you're an extrovert, I think you thrive in like spaces where you can go to work every day, basically. Or, you know, if you have a business, go into co-working spaces. For me, I thrive at home. I just love being at home by myself. I love my own company. So this works really well for me. To be a business owner, you need to assume a lot of responsibility and have some kind of inner drive, because if not, you're like going to have some issues with bringing in income. And you also need to be fully open to going on that sort of journey of opening yourself up to being more confident and sharing about your work with the world and having to expand your skill sets in a way that you don't necessarily have to if you stay in job world. And then but the benefits is that you get to have an enormous amount of freedom and you get to craft a business and a life that works completely beautifully for you as well. So it's high risk, high reward.
That's definitely, as you say, a journey. It doesn't come easily, but I suppose it gets easier over time. And a massive part of that is marketing. Have you always been good at marketing? Have you dropped the ball on your own marketing?
So for me, like marketing did not come naturally to me whatsoever. It was not something I was born with. You know, like there's some people that when they go through school, they just manage to like create mini businesses as they're like the young entrepreneurs. That was not me at all. I was just some ditzy doll off in the corner looking at trees and writing books about the trees, you know, like very airy fairy kind of kid. And it was really just discovering like, oh, if I want a creative career, if I want a creative business, then I'm going to have to learn how to build that vessel to take it out into the world. So the marketing's definitely a skill I had to learn, and copywriting and sales and the confidence stuff of putting myself out there. Once you learn it, though, it's kind of skills that you get to keep forever and build upon. And I love learning. So I'm thrilled that I like just have to continue to update my knowledge. But I think the first part's the hardest. And after that, you've sort of got quite a good library of knowledge of what works.
Our listeners are mainly writers, and we know many of them like shy away from marketing or they aren't consistent with it. So do you see some common mistakes that small business owners make with marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. Like people often say, well, I just don't want to have to market because it should just be able to be done by word of mouth. And sure, word of mouth is one way to market your business, but word of mouth is often incentivized as well. Like word of mouth often comes from when I ask people to refer me or give them encouragement or even have like an affiliate program set up so that I can reward people for sending them to me. So 20% of my sales comes from my affiliate network of people who get paid to share about my work when they get the sale in. So I'm very grateful for that. I think you do need to see that as a business owner, it's just part and parcel that marketing is your job. Your job is not just to do the writing and not just to do the technical work. It's actually to run a business. And as part of being a CEO of that business, you have to do sales and marketing. That is a core component of every single business. And you need to factor that into your time. And as far as how you want to market your business, that's completely up to you.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of business owners think, well, I'll build this thing and then they will come. The leads will just fall in my lap. And perhaps they underestimate how much is involved in actually getting themselves out there and that sort of thing. And as someone who does a lot of marketing online, I was really interested in your strategy of marketing without social media. So what led you to creating that course?
So for me, I knew that I wanted to wean myself off social media for a while. And I thought I'd just do it as a 21-day challenge first and see what that felt like. And I loved it so much. I thought there's no way that I want to go back anytime soon. And I thought, okay, well, this is great. This is an experiment. And I love in business that you can do experiments. You can try out and like it's just a big science lab and see what works for you and see what doesn't.
What platforms were you on when you decided to leave the mass exodus?
So Facebook and Instagram were the main ones, I think. So I've got about 130,000 followers on Facebook, I think, and 20 something on Instagram.
That's quite a to leave all of that behind.
Yeah. And so I thought, you know what, I'll measure and see how much sales are actually coming from there. And when I looked at how much sales was coming from there, we were only getting 20% of our sales through there. And yet it was taking, 80% of our marketing time. And that also included doing Facebook ads. And, so it was like quite an amount of money and time and energy that was going into bringing in 20% of sales. Whereas we had other areas of business that were bringing in 20% of sales that was not taking anywhere near that kind of money or time or energy. So we're like, oh, well, we could probably just like do a test and try it out for 3 months. And if the business like looks like it's slipping, then we can come back. So we did it for 3 months. We're like, nope, it's pretty good. So we can just stay off for as long as we like. So I ended up staying off for a full 2 years. And I didn't go back onto it because we needed to. It was more that I wanted to make really stupid videos as my next creative practice. And I was kind of feeling hemmed in by my own rule. I don't do well with rules, even if they're my own. So I was like, right, okay, to make stupid videos, the right place for them is usually social media. So I'm going to go back in with a whole bunch of rules and the knowledge that I can bugger off it at any point in time when I want to. And now I kind of forget that I'm on social media because the way I set it up is that I batch create everything, then it goes into a scheduler and it all gets posted out. So I don't even look at my own Instagram or Facebook profiles or anything like that. I have an assistant that does, but it's pretty rare that I do. So my experiment worked really well. So we brought in over $2 million in revenue in the time that we were offline. It didn't make really any difference to our sales. And like 10 out of 10, I had a great time. We'd do it again.
Oh, that's nice.
How did you like kind of then move into starting the course? Did you just think, oh, I want to teach this to other people?
No, it was because so many people were asking me. Like they just couldn't get over the fact, like, how can you bring in like still like do a 7-figure online business without social media. This is insane. And I thought it was pretty obvious, but clearly not. That's when I just put it together because I was sick of answering people's questions. That's like how I create a lot of my courses, is people ask me a lot of questions and I'm like, you know what? I'll just put this all into a program for you. And so I just direct you to the program. So like, I always have to remind people, like, one, social media is completely optional, like all marketing activities. There is literally thousands of ways for you to market your business. And there are some that are faster and more effective than social media. And I always tell the story of, like, I had a friend who, it was just like a school mum friend who started a new hair salon. And I was like, how's business going? And she's like, really not good. I don't know how I'm going to make rent this month. And I was like, what have you done marketing wise? And she said, I put out a post a day, like on social media about it. I was like, great. Okay. And what are you going to do differently, like, to get more sales? And she said, I think I might do 2 posts a day.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, right, when we hear it, but we totally think that ourselves. Like, we think that's funny, and yet internally our brains absolutely work like that. So I was like, you know what? Instead of doing your 2 posts a day, why don't you print up some flyers, some old-fashioned flyers, and then walk them around the neighborhood that you're in? Because she was in like an industrial estate. And I was like, that's where all your customers are. And introduce yourself, say, hi, I'm your new business neighbor. If you want to come get your hair done in lunchtimes or breaks, you can come over to me. First time you come over to me, it'll be like $20 off your first visit. And she did it. She did the thing. And I saw her a couple of weeks later and I said, how's business? And she said, fully booked.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
The old tangible marketing.
Yeah, we need to stop thinking that social media marketing is the only way for you to grow a business. It's not, and it often is such an enormous waste of time in comparison to other marketing methods.
Exactly. And it does seem to be getting harder and harder to cut through the noise. I mean,
Completely.
to get organic growth without doing lots of sponsored posts. And so you talked a bit about, I love the idea of the flyers. What other sort of things that people are not thinking of?
Yeah, all the things. So, if you're a local business, you need to, like, first of all, search engine optimization is hugely important because people are searching for you on those. Also, if there is any directories for your specific, like, industry. So, for example, natural therapy pages was like a really big one for practitioners of, like, health practitioners for a long time there. I'm not sure if it's still as popular. High pages, if you're a tradie, is really good. So when you're looking at, like, SEO and directories, that can be really useful. Looking at things like organic content marketing that's not based on social media. So, like, creating articles, doing podcast interviews, having your own podcast, those kinds of things can be incredibly potent. Having joint ventures where you partner up with people who already have existing audiences and either profit sharing with them or having an affiliate payment relationship. Affiliates can be really useful. Paid advertising that's not on social media advertising can be really potent. Doing awards can be really useful. It's such a big thing. So you mentioned, like, the awards I've won. So I adore the Osmompreneur Awards process that you nominate for, but there's so many out there. And even just the process of applying for it can be hugely useful because you learn to tell the story of your business in a really potent way. Then going through the judging process, again, a very, very helpful skill building process. Osmompreneur and a whole bunch of other awards often have conferences or gala awards evenings attached, and you can go to them and network during those. That can be incredibly potent. So, and then, of course, if you win an award, then it's a beautiful thing that you can use for your business going forward. Looking at PR, especially if you win those awards, or for anything you do in your business, doing PR and outreach to, more traditional media as well. Like, I could go on for days about all the different ways that you could get your name out there. I know there was, like, a company in our street that was doing pressure washing on, like, a house 3 doors down. And part of their process is they door knocked that whole street that they were on, and they do it every day, everywhere they go. And they give you a flyer and they say, hi, we're pressure washing in your area. If you want us to come to you after we do this job, we can actually come to you today. Otherwise, we've got spaces this week. Otherwise, just take a flyer. And guess what? We've got their flyer and it's on on our
On the
fridge,
fridge.
and we've got it ready to go for when we need the pressure washing done. So
Mhm.
like, of course, we're going to use those people instead of just some rando that we see on social media.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Like, if you are sort of going to move a little bit away from social media and start trying some of those other options, do you announce it, or how does that work?
So it's one, if you're starting to move away, you don't really need to announce it. You can just do like a gentle goodbye, a gentle sliding out and see how it comes. And that way as well, when you come, if you want to come back later, or if you just want to batch and schedule things and automate things, you don't have to make a big deal out of it. You can if you want to, before I did my 21-day trial, I didn't announce it, but once I knew that it was probably going to be a longer term thing, I did. And I just had a picture up and it was like, I'm not on social media at the moment. This is the ways that you can connect with me. Join my newsletter list. That's the best way for you to contact me, because I really wanted to send as much traffic in that direction as possible. So, and those were really ended up being really popular. And so the Facebook cover, I updated that and said, no longer on social media. I didn't close my pages completely, just kept them there with a placeholder directing people to where I wanted to. And so when I did want to come back or whatever, I can just start afresh.
I think when you're talking about the newsletters, I felt from looking at your website and everything, you're really about building a sort of strong community. Does that work well? And is that what you'd advise freelancers to do?
If that is your skill set, go for it. But if it's not, you don't have to. And for me, it's funny that you say that, because I don't necessarily feel like I'm a good community builder. I feel like I'm a good long-term relationship builder, one-on-one with people, and then accidentally they will fall in love with each other as well because they're all the same kind of person.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I hold community spaces incredibly well. All I know is if I just keep sharing my message, my voice, what's important to me, and keep showing up, keep being generous, keep giving stuff away, then people will get to know me. And if I'm the right person, they will fall in love with me and we can have a long-term journey together. So we have people in my business that have been buying from me for 20 plus years now, which is just incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think marketing has really shifted. People are, a bit more sophisticated. It's not, you really have to be super authentic and use storytelling approaches to kind of draw people in, and which you do that really well. Is that part of your email marketing as well? Is that a huge part of your marketing?
I think so. I think it's it's probably less a strategic decision for me and just this is what's inside me. And so I need to share it. And also recognizing that the newsletter and the blog started before I even had a business. It started when I was 21. Okay, so when I sent myself to boarding school when I was 16 years old. I was like, parents, I've had enough of this small town. I'm either going overseas for a year.
Probably read all those lovely books like Harry Potter and things
Right?
yeah.
Well, I'm too old for Harry
Yeah.
Potter, but
Yeah.
like Enid Blyton kind of stuff. And I didn't have any other options where the high school I was going, because I was in a very small rural town. So I was like, boarding school or overseas? And they said, boarding school, if you can get a scholarship. And because we can't afford that. So I sent myself to a boarding school, got myself a scholarship, very grateful, very, very grateful. And lived in this dormitory with 20 other girls. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. And had this incredible art teacher, Andrew Turia, and he gave us these beautiful black art journals, like A4. And he's like, this is like a room of one's own. This is a space to create. I should know when I look at your final artworks, I should see the journey leading up to that final artwork through your journal, through your art journal. And I was like, oh, I've been waiting for this my whole life. So I would just go back to the dorms and I'd fill them all up, and people would come around and be like, oh, what are you working on? I was like, oh, do you want to read it? And so I just don't really have that much of a filter. I'm like, you want to read my diary? Go for it. So I just send my art journal around the dormitory, and the next person I'd hand it on to the next person. When I wanted to make something, I'd have to go find whoever had it. And then it inspired them to create their own art journal. And then I'd get to see theirs. And it was just this beautiful, creative ecosystem. And so a few years later, when I found out about blogging, I was like, it's like me sending my art journal out into the world, except I don't have to go find it every day. And I can just make. And so I've treated my blog, and that my blog was the start of my business, really, as that art journal process. So whatever excited me, whatever inspired me, whatever story I want to tell, whatever I've made lately, and started developing a relationship with the people who felt called to that, and then started offering things around that. And so I feel like that sort of art journal approach to TMI and sharing all the things with the people who want to read it has really fueled my business. And it wasn't like a strategic decision to be authentic. It was just like, this is what I want. So this is what I want to create. And so far this is working pretty good. So I'll just keep going with it.
It just doesn't make sense for you to pretend to be someone else. I can see that immediately, you know. But some
Right.
people try, don't they?
For sure.
Yeah, because I have to admit, I tend to be pretty straighty 180 with all my marketing and comms. And I don't know if that's a bad thing, because I don't know how comfortable I would be, like as you are, and putting yourself out there. How can we be a bit more authentic?
I mean, firstly, you can do whatever you feel comfortable with. Like, it's absolutely okay for you to have your boundaries and to trust your own soul essence of what you want to do. If you feel the call that you want to share a little bit more or express another part of yourself, give it a go and just experiment and play and see what happens and see how it feels. As much as I am TMI, I still do have some like boundaries around that. So I used to share pictures and stories about my children and my husband, and I don't anymore, just for privacy reasons and to also respect their own story. I don't want to write their story for them, and I also don't want them to be recognized publicly as my family unless they want to be. So I don't do that, and I also usually don't share deeply about something when I'm still going through it. So I'm very open about having mental health illnesses and that have flare-ups from time to time. And I don't share about it when I'm in it. It's usually like I get the support that I need to, and then I'll usually share once I'm sort of out the other side. Because if I shared that shit and I got some weird crap online, that's probably not going to be helpful to me. And it's also, I don't feel like it's the internet's place to be my therapist. Like, that's my therapist's job, you know? So I try and have healthy boundaries around stuff. So you can trust your own self and trust whatever's calling out of you next.
Yeah, there is such a wide spectrum of sharing and oversharing on social media, isn't there? Like, you see people crying, having full breakdowns on social media. Like, there's so much that people try to connect with their audiences, and no judgment of what anybody tries. Yeah, having boundaries. I'm with you. Yeah, you have to figure out where that line is for you, I think. Yeah.
And also like I've remembered at certain places like where I've become cognizant that I want to express a different part of my personality, which didn't necessarily align with my brand necessarily, you know. So I used to be known as Goddess Leonie and like only talked about spiritual stuff. And then at a certain point, I wanted to talk about business stuff as well. And it felt like oh God, can I do it? So I just like test and try and see what happens. When I first had postnatal depression, I did not want to share that publicly whatsoever because I thought that would just be too far. But at a certain point, I was ready to do it, and it was enormously healing to do it. So it can change over time, and you can incorporate more parts of yourself into your branding.
Well, we've talked about a few different kinds of, marketing as opposed to social media. We've talked about, tangible marketing where you have a flyer, you walk around, you actually talk to people. So would that probably be relationship marketing and, building relationships and stuff? What do you think is working right now for freelancers to pick up clients? What kind of marketing is working, do you think, at the moment?
I see marketing is like you can do it on 2 pages, like one piece of paper on 2 sides. And on the first side, you write down, where are my clients? Like, where are they already hanging out? Where are the people that are already needing me right now? What groups are they a part of? What forums, what industry associations are they a part of? Are they following certain like specific influencers or authors or teachers? What are they Googling? All of those things, like where are they actually accruing? Are they a part of specific conferences? Do they go to local networking groups? Thinking about it from a very like all-encompassing approach. And then on the other piece of paper, saying like, how can I potentially get in front of them? What is some kind of way, knowing that those people in those spaces, what are some ways that I could pop up there and be like, hi, this is me. This is how I can help you. So, for example, if you're a writer, then potentially you help people edit their books or whatever, looking at writers' festivals or writers' groups and groups where people are reaching out, asking for referrals and connections, looking at businesses that are aligned with yours, that have your clients but don't complete your service, so they can attach together, and you can refer back and forward to each other. It can be really, really useful. Search engine optimization can be really, really useful, and encouraging referrals wherever possible. Even just sending out an email to your list saying, I'm ready to take on new projects. These are the kinds of clients that I'm looking for. So having that kind of idea of who are my people, where are they, how can I start getting in their sphere?
I love that process, actually. So many of us probably don't actually go through that thought process or the double-sided piece of paper process, but that would be really useful.
It's honestly, that's like how I've built my entire business. I remember when my daughter was a baby and she was like a baby that just cried and didn't sleep at all. And I had less than 10 hours a week. And I was now the breadwinner of our family because I'd convinced my husband to give up his government job and move to the Whitsundays. I don't know what I was thinking, but whatever. We did it and it was great fun. Anyway, I'd be like, right, okay, baby's asleep for 20 minutes. I'm just like flinging the child at you. And we were living in this like 100-year-old, one-bedroom cottage. I didn't have any place to work. So I would run down to the park at the end of the street because that was like one place that I could get that was a little bit quiet. There was a huge fig tree. And I used to climb up the fig tree and go climb up, like work up the tree. And sometimes like I was in the tropics. And so like sometimes there was snakes up the tree and like it was a whole palaver. It was a palaver. And I was like, well, I've got an hour to make money. How am I going to do this? And so I remember just like writing out on this piece of paper, where are all my people hanging out? What are all the ways I can get in front of them? And just this enormous list. And then that piece of paper, I like at the end of a session, I'd fold it up and I'd put it back in with my laptop in my like awful tote bag that I called my traveling office. And then I'd run back home with my boobs leaking, ready to breastfeed my baby. And that was my job, is like run down to the park, go to the tree, pull out my list. What's the next person I can get in front of? What's the next crazy idea? And like I came up with some batshit ideas to get in front of people. So for example, at that time, Leo Babauta ran a website called Zen Habits. And I was like, yeah, he's great. He's a friggin' icon in our industry. And I was like, you know what? I am going to hand paint a poster of his key Zen habits, which was like a very popular blog of his. And then I'll just put it on my website. I'll like share about it on Twitter and tag him in it, and don't put an opt-in on it or anything like that. It's just give it out to the world. Who gives a shit? And it ended up going absolutely viral. It got retweeted like 125,000 times. It was insane. And it's not like there's one thing that makes your business, but like just doing that over and over. And then like another thing I did, like I had a whole bunch of people on the list of like people I could be following. I was like, I just want to get them all over and done with at the same time. How can I do that? And I thought, okay, we'll create like this companion ebook where people like shared their morning routines, and I'll like hand illustrate and design the whole thing, just give it away again, like no opt-in, nothing. Then like I shared about it with the people who'd like co-authored it with me, and of course they shared it with all their audiences and all their mailing lists, and I'm like, amazing, perfect. And then at the time people were doing summits, and that was kind of a new thing, and I thought, you know what, I just want to do more than what anyone else is doing, so I'll do the world's biggest summit. And that's what I called it. The absolute balls on me. So I interviewed 100 people. and had 100 people, completely free summit, gave it all away. And it ended up like doubling, tripling my mailing list in the space of, a couple of weeks. It was ridiculous. So I just come up with these like wild, generous schemes and put them out in the world. And those are the ones that won. Like obviously I did really well. And then I can tell you there's like 100 more that did absolutely nothing. They just like thudded to the ground and did nothing. But it doesn't matter. It's all progress and it's all creating and it's all fun anyway. And it served the people on my list because I just give it to them and they're like, cool, thanks for this other weird free shit you've made, Leonie.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, there's some great examples and everything. And we are hearing that it's a bit slow out there now for freelancers. I mean, Rachel and I have been sort of doing quite well, and maybe we've got more established businesses. So do you find, but I guess the thing is also the longer you've been in business, you do see these ups and downs and you get less stressed by it, I think. Do you find that your business goes through slow patches? And how do you get things moving again?
Oh, look, I think it's like just a natural part and process. And also remembering like 2008, there was like the global financial crisis and then just all of the crazy shit that's going on. And like, COVID was another kind of pivotal time. And it sometimes affected businesses in ways that we just didn't even expect. Like some businesses had huge upticks, some had like downticks. It's okay, like for there to be like a swell happening. So what I see is like there's a natural swell of the markets that goes up and down, but it doesn't necessarily mean I need to be affected by it. Like what is in my power is if things are a bit slower and harder going, then I can push things up another level. I can coast less. I can be more intentional with what I'm doing. I can build my skills to the next level. No matter what the market is, there is an opportunity for me. And that really helps me. I think it's very easy to tell ourselves a story. Well, nobody's hiring at the moment. Things are very slow. And then that then becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy because you're less likely to put yourself out there and less likely to do the marketing activities that are going to get you the clients. So if you instead take on the mindset like the market's slow, therefore that means I am going to do even more and build my skills. That's incredible. Also recognizing that the more you grow your business during a slower time, the more, even more revenue you're going to create in an abundant time. And also some people may exit the business if they don't get off the slow train, you know what I mean? So it culls the industry a bit, leaves you with fewer competitors, hooray, and you have groundswell for when there is like a growth thing. So I see the benefits in everything. I'm such a Pollyanna.
But that's good. That's what we like. We're a bit like that too.
I agree with you. I think there's so much opportunity in a downturn, and sometimes we forget about that and we can fall into that doom and gloom hole, especially if you're surrounded by people who are talking about doom and gloom and I've got no work and everything like that. So it's interesting. There's definitely opportunity even when things are really shit out there, I think. Yeah.
Completely. And also like recognizing that we are built for feast and famine, that we literally like feast and famine and has been happening since the beginning of time. It's a natural cycle of life. And you come from an incredibly long line of ancestors since the beginning of time that have survived with very little resources and doing it tough and persevering even when things are a bit difficult. So guess what? Like this is not an unprecedented time. It's like business as usual, if not better than ever.
Talk to us about marketing calendars. Are they essential? Do we just fly by the seat of our pants when it comes to marketing instead of having a strategy? What do you reckon?
So completely up to you. I am not a planner. I
sort of got that.
I ain't got that capacity. I am so impressed. Like my friend Tina Tower, she has her content planned out like 18 months in advance, including like all of her newsletters and social media. And that, like, I so like, wow, respect that. And also I want to die on the inside when I think about that. It's not for me. It's not for me. I instead like love to fly by the seat of my pants. And I also love to build up a content library of marketing shit that I can reuse. So like all the email, like sales letters that go out, they'll get tagged in our inactive campaigns so that if we do that launch again, we can reuse it. And I go through and like update, refresh, like add to. We also have the same in our social media scheduler. We use Smarter Queue, and for launches and marketing, we have different categories set up for that. And so we can just flick it back on when we want to. But I just also want to leave as much room as possible for ideas and flying by the seat of my pants and coming up with new stuff as I go, because I like that and it's fun for me.
So does that mean you're often writing an email marketing letter the day that you're sending it, sort of thing, when it's
Yeah, of
fresh?
course. Yeah, of course. Then there's a lot that is scheduled as well. It's like it really, whatever feels good to me, really.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So do you think is there a simple marketing plan that people can use, or sounds like you use a lot of scheduling? Yeah.
Yeah. The two-page marketing plan is just like forms the basis of my business, basically. Where are my people? How can I get in front of them? Having just little rituals set up for, okay, I'm always going to send out a newsletter every week. I wish I was as consistent with my podcast, but that'll come in time. Look, I've only been doing business for 20 years. Like I need some time to work up to it. You know what I mean? Like some patience and a bit of both, basically.
Yeah.
You know, you work 10 hours a week, but you keep saying we. So it sounds like you have a bit of a team that work with you. Is that right? Tell us about that.
So I've gone through lots of different variances with my business. I started my business with one part-time virtual assistant, and then over the years it started growing bigger and bigger. And at a certain point in time, we had 20 plus staff. This is probably back 2016, 2017. And I discovered in that process that I actually hate having a large team. It is not for me. There's some people who are very, very good at it and they're naturally inclined in that direction. It's not for me. I actually really don't enjoy it whatsoever, because managing that amount of people reduces my ability to create. It like takes away my time, and you have to like manage and put out logistic fires instead of actually just a creative process, which I adore. So I made a decision then that I needed to streamline my business back to a point which felt really good again. And also I discovered in that process, we're having a large team. We did nearly $3 million in revenue in 1 year, which is amazing. But the profit margins weren't any better than when I ran a streamlined business and, did 7 figures and with a minimal team. So I went back to one part-time assistant. And at the moment, I have 3 part-time assistants, and together they do less than one full-time person. I could run it with one part-time person, but I've built in a little bit of extra spaciousness so that I don't feel overly reliant on one assistant, because my wonderful right-hand assistant, Zeta, has been working for me for 7 years, and she was doing everything, but it also meant that it was harder for her to, take holidays and things like that without feeling like, oh God, the business is going to go to a standstill without you. So now we have one person who just does customer service emails and one person who's my assistant's assistant, basically. So it works beautifully for me. And I'm keen on keeping it still small and streamlined and happy.
Amazing. Well, you mentioned a few of the programs that you use earlier, but what are some more of your tech tips, like really things that you would be lost without? Digital programs, things like that.
I use Google to run everything. So, like Google Docs, Google Slides, all that kind of stuff. We love Canva, of course. I do all of my presentations using Canva as well. All of our PDFs, Canva is just friggin' brilliant. I use Kajabi as our content learning platform currently. I was using it for all of its features. So Kajabi is one of those like all-in-one where you can do your website, you can do your email marketing, you can do all of that. I don't think that was great for a certain point of my business when I really wanted to streamline. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, it's actually kind of limiting me instead of like giving me the juice that I want to go. So I kind of like, I'm not religious to any tool. I'm more just like, well, we'll just see what happens. And if it works for now, great. If not, we'll just bugger it off and do something else.
Fair enough.
We have to ask, have you got any last words of advice for freelancers who may be doing it a bit tough right now?
I want you to know there are so many people out there who currently need you and are looking for you, and they just can't find you. So how can you get in front of them? Because I'm a hippie, I see it as like this sacred contract as well, like this heartfelt contract. There are people out there in the world who currently don't know about my work. Oh my God, let us like have a moment of like prayers for them. Like that's so sad for them. So my job is to try and find them so that they can enjoy the wonder and the miracle that is me. And in the same way, there are people who need you desperately and don't know how to find you. So just doing a simple 2-page marketing plan of like, where are those people that need me so desperately? And thinking about how can I get in front of them, and then do it every single day. That is your job. That is part of being a business owner, and that's part of being a freelancer. So you might as well build your skills in that area, but only take my advice if you like money. If you don't like money, don't worry about it. Just ignore me.
Fair enough.
Don't think that social media is the be all and end all. Like, get out of that mind trap of thinking it's the only way to market. It's been really eye-opening in a lot of ways, Leonie. Like, to think about the other ways that you can do it.
Yes.
Which might be way more effective.
So much more effective. So much more effective. Just experiment and actually start working out how much hours you're currently spending on social media, and work out how many hours you're spending on other marketing methods. And if you can apportion 10% even of your time on social media to using another marketing method, you'll be cooking with gas, babes.
Yeah.
Love
Good
it.
point. Good. Such great advice, Leonie. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. So tell us a little bit about where listeners can find you and find out more about your courses and your business and everything.
You can just find me at my website, leoniedawson.com. I have a free shit page on there. That's what it's literally called. And it's just got dozens and dozens of free things that I've made over the years to help people live a bigger, bolder business and life and all the good stuff. So that's the best way. If you want to join my mailing list, people do say it's like the best thing that comes to their inbox. You never know what you're going to get. So enjoy.
Oh my God, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, tips and just your knowledge on, a topic that affects so.
And your enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's been amazing. That brings us to the end of the show this week, but we really appreciate all of you out there listening and sharing us on social media and commenting, and yeah, we love it.
And we'll be back next week.
We will. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks again to our wonderful sponsors, Rounded, easy accounting and invoicing software that helps freelancers run their business with confidence.
And don't forget, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can check your welcome emails for an exclusive discount code on the annual subscription rate. You can also find it in the private Facebook Gold group, or just contact us at hello@rachelslist.com.au.